Before the relaxer, Ma would unravel my braids, lay me on the kitchen counter, wash, then rebraid my hair to look like the inner workings of a kaleidoscope. The everyday geometric shapes on my scalp were more fitting for a celebration, like the return of a sun god or the merging of two kingdoms. At least the white girls in third grade saw it that way, always tracing their eyes along the primordial design. But by fourth grade, something changed. It became clear to me that my classmate, Roxy, with her long mermaid waves, was destined to rack up on that in-class delivery of carnations every Valentine's Day. Danielle, the new girl with a slack jaw and stiff braids, was destined to pretend she has a super hot boyfriend that happens to live in another town. Roxy leaned over our lunch table to demonstrate their differences. Her smile was wide and bright, save for the gaps of missing teeth that mirrored the sliver of space between being an unbridled kid and being a pure asshole. She wound her hand back and slapped one of Danielle's braids. It was the kind of chunky braids that started with the ball barrette and ended at the clip barrette. They looked like cojones. Exactly. The other Puerto Rican girls laughed first. The black girls looked around and laughed later. Maybe it meant shit? Either way, it was time to straighten my hair, and it could not come a moment sooner. My older sister, Layla, was the first to get a relaxer. She walked in the front door one morning with a bobbed haircut, curled and styled like a middle-aged woman who slept in plastic rollers. I hovered my hands around her hair, knowing instinctively not to touch it. "How does it feel?" I asked. She said the weight of her hair was gone. When it was my turn, I could feel water running down my scalp for the very first time. The water tickled, and I felt a bit open, probably from the small abrasions dotted along my hairline. The relaxer felt like minuscule whips, separating my scalp from itself, leaving scabs that will become something new. The weight of my hair had literally been lifted. I felt bald, except for the fringe of hair tickling my cheeks and on my shoulders. My hair didn't seem like a part of me. I walked into that salon a little girl, but left with a switch in my hips, a bad little bitch. After the relaxer, the white girls who were awestruck by my cornrows were now replaced by other black girls lining up to call what was now my good hair. My classmate and fellow relaxee, Tiffany, tugged out a handball-sized tuft of hair. She wore an expression of guilty horror, which met my practiced, nonchalant face. "Does this usually happen?" Tiffany looked at the brush as she would a bloodied knife. "This doesn't happen to you," I thought. In no time, all that bang blowing and hair flipping left behind a trail of thin and crunchy strands on my shoulders. Eventually, parting my hair to the side revealed a scalp-bearing wedge like that of a 60-year-old man. We realized relaxers were not necessarily lower maintenance than braids. It required moisture and hair wrapping, which is brushing the hair out and then around the curvature of your skull, all while smoothing it with bobbykins, a feat of psychomotor coordination I'd never cared to master. The weight of my hair had been lifted, though the weight of conformity was more present. It was best to be adored in the right way, that is, straightforward and typical, not in a curling fashion that brought me back to the same place, longing. I lamented through adolescence, not yet knowing that the sun gods still lurked, raising the inevitability of me. The chemicals could not stop my strands from going upward like leaves toward the sunlight.